Your first Cafe Coleon coffee. Did you try it?
I kind of did. Hey guys, welcome to LA series. I am here with Cole Walliser, who is not only a skater, but a music fan, a dance fan, a Glambot expert, a director. I mean, in other words, you're pretty much everything, and you're also a coffee expert. So can you describe who are you, Cole?
Oh, I think you did a pretty good job right there. I mean, you know, it's really tricky because even as I age, I go into new things. And so, you know, by trade, I'm a director. So that's what I moved to LA for, to make movies, videos. From Canada. Yeah, born in Vancouver.
Being a Swiss German.
Being Swiss German, Chinese, it's my heritage. But yeah, so moving to LA to direct was always the goal. So like by trade and sort of my professional identity, I'm a director. But now since like my social's taken off and I'm doing more on-camera stuff, it's kind of evolved. So like I hosted a TV show on Hulu called Exposure, which was a reality competition show that I hosted and judged. And so now it's like I'm a host now, you know what I mean? And I do like, I've done commercials where I directed them, but I'm also in them. So I'm like an actor now. I was in the movie Dog with Channing Tatum, I had a role in that. So it's like, I'm doing more on-camera stuff, which is really cool and exciting. But still, I think the foundation is like a creative, a director, a filmmaker is like who I am at the core, I'd say.
But the first actual job, which I heard was a free job because you got never paid for it. And yes, it was a pretty big gig and it was with Pink, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So
how did that happen?
That's a great question. So there's a couple things that like led up to it. So that was early in my career in LA and I moved out here, and this was like before YouTube, before social. And so a lot of people didn't have cameras, you know? And so you kind of got jobs just because you owned gear. It was a little easier back then. So
you were shooting skateboarders, so it was
I
very
started
different.
like, yeah, I started in Vancouver, I started shooting skateboarding. That was like what got a camera in my hand, and I started developing my skill and like learning how to edit and realizing that I really loved being creative and that kind of with film and with media. And then I moved to LA to direct, and I started, like I used to dance as well. And so I started shooting a bunch of dancers. And so I'd shoot different performances and like choreography reels and different kind of things for dancers. And so I was friends with a lot of dancers in the community. And one of my really good friends was is still to this day, Allison Falk, who at the time got her first big job as a choreographer with Pink. She assisted a tour prior, and so the following tour, which was the Funhouse tour, Pink asked her to choreograph the entire tour, her and her partner Leo. This is a huge job for her. I was one of her best friends and still am again, like I said. And so she was like, I would love some footage of like me teaching Pink and like some rehearsal stuff. Do you want to come by and just shoot some stuff? Not paid, just like come hang out and shoot. So
great
I'm like,
opportunity.
Yeah. So I said, of course, like, yeah, because obviously I knew I could go meet her and like just be around in the camp kind of thing. So I was like, great. So I came to rehearsal, I met Pink, I met the tour director. We got along. I think I shot one rehearsal and it was like good. And then I came back maybe a couple days later and shot another one. And then we all were just getting along. And then at that point they were like, oh, we should hire you to like shoot 5 days of like behind the scenes, like prep of like the tour getting launched. And then the tour was gonna go off and that was it. I was just gonna shoot some behind the scenes. That 5 days turned into like 3 weeks, plus the opening video of the tour, plus the closing video of the tour, plus a whole documentary like of her life on the road. So it just evolved really quickly into this thing because I think that they saw, I don't know, maybe they saw like someone who was just young and hungry, and as media was growing, they saw
and
a
talented.
need. Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, I knew how to, at that point still, I was still young in my career, but I'd had a camera in my hand for years, you know what I mean? So I was very comfortable. And it was a great environment to work with someone at that level, because when you're rehearsing with Pink or anybody, it's very, there's no, it's not pretentious in any way. You're there like trying to do a good job, and at times it's very serious, but at times it's very relaxed because you're showing up, your dance rehearsal, you're at performance rehearsal, you're having lunch together, so you're hanging out all day, so you get to know each other really quickly.
Did you learn how to dance in the process?
I definitely learned some of the moves back then for sure. So, because again, like I used to dance, so it's like it's in me a little bit, but I don't get to express that part of me as much. But yeah, but Pink really gave me like my first big chance, kind of like my first big break as a director, because she took a kid with a camera and she gave me the opportunity to be like, hey, you can direct me on like a music video set essentially. And so that was like my first big opportunity, I would say.
And then things escalated into a couple of more productions, from moving, from beauty, from commercials, from many things, all the way up to the Glambot. So for people who don't know what a Glambot is, can you explain what it's like?
Yeah, so the Glambot is this camera system that shoots talent and celebrities on the red carpet. So we work kind of like the biggest award shows, so the Oscars, the Grammys, the Emmys. So we're at all these big events, and we're used to seeing like red carpet photos, and the Glambot is like a high-speed slow motion camera, so it's a really like a heightened, like glamorized moment on the red carpet rather than just like a still image. So it's this big camera arm that moves super fast and shoots at 1,000 frames a second, and you end up getting just like the most glamorous slow motion moment.
Could you pretend you're making one just to show like ideal one?
You kind of, so it's kind of funny because any movement on the camera really looks good, because I don't know if you've ever seen this classic skit by Dave Chappelle where it's like life in slow motion's better. So he does like these before and after of like walking into like a laundromat in regular speed. It's fine. And then he goes in slow motion and it's like way cooler. So we benefit from that effect. So I would be not doing the Glambot justice if I did any move, but it literally is just like a hair flip or a spin.
Which is easy for you with the hair thing.
Yeah. I practiced a couple of hair flips before, but it's really the technique of like the way we light the talent, the way we move the camera. And then of course it's like you're shooting these celebrities that are gorgeous and handsome,
make it up and dress
know how
and
to, fully dressed, fully makeup. They know how to pose in front of the camera. They know how to work the camera. So I'm really in a position to succeed where I'm like, just do anything, and they do anything, and I'm like, it's amazing. You know what I mean? So, but it is a really cool and a cool piece of media that's turned into like its own animal and its own sort of like iconic thing, where now talent know about it and they're like, oh, I've been waiting to do this. So it's
you're the person behind that whole concept. It should be the Cole concept.
Yeah. I mean, I will take it. Anytime to get sort of
credit for it.
Yeah, anytime I get recognized for what I do is amazing. Though I didn't like invent it. A lot of people think like I invented it and I own it, or it's like sitting here at my house. But there's like a bunch of different companies that come together to create this Glambot. I'm just sort of like the face and the person that's like in charge of it creatively, so.
Yeah, but I mean, another part of the creation, because you are a big creative, you also came up with your coffee brand, which is another thing.
Yeah, it was during the pandemic. I mean, as I had mentioned before,
on a complete different level of things.
Yeah. Well, originally, I actually wanted to make coffee to send to clients that had hired me for jobs as a thank you. So a friend of mine who's like a photographer and like a director was talking to me about sending like Christmas cards to like his clients that have hired him. And I was like, I've never done that before. I was like, maybe I should do something like that. But I was like, I don't want to do like a Christmas card. I want to do something more cool and interesting. And at the time,
it resembles you.
Yeah, that's more personable. So when they get it or they think about it, they're like, oh yeah, Cole did XYZ. That's more associated with his identity, right? To remember me more. Because if that's the point of like sending a Christmas card, you really want to stand out, right?
Or a selfie, because I've read somewhere that you think selfies are amazing.
Selfies can be amazing, yes.
I like the can now.
Yes, can. Well, I mean, no, they are, but like there's a limit to everything. Coffee's amazing, but if you have too much, no bueno. Same with selfies, I think. So I wanted to basically create like a thank you that I could send people. And so I was quickly at that time really becoming obsessed with coffee. And so I bought a nice coffee machine, the one on the left, the right here. And I would invite people over to my house to have coffee, and we started nicknaming my place Cafe Coleon, because Coleon's a nickname of mine. And so we're like, we're gonna go to Cafe Coleon and have a coffee, because I would just invite people over to like come have a good conversation over coffee. And so it kind of was a joke, and then I was like, I should get a logo made to like more of a joke, so I got a logo made, and then I was like, I should get cups made, so I got like cups with my design. Actually, I have these cups right here. So I was like, just kind of as like for shits and gigs, basically, like make cups, and then all of a sudden I was like, I kind of have a coffee brand, and our slogan is caffeinate and create, so it's all about being creative and drinking coffee and being creative, right? So it just quickly turned into its own thing, and at some point I was like, oh, my following online was growing as well at this time, and I was like, oh, I could probably sell some. It's during the pandemic. I wasn't working like at all as a director.
So you had
like,
some time.
Had some time. Entertainment just totally shut down. I was growing a following. I was like, I should like sell it online. So got a website together, did the whole thing, and we launched, I guess in 2020. So it's been kind of like 2 years.
Cool, so now you can show me how to make the perfect coffee.
I can show you how to make the perfect coffee.
That's great.
Oh, well, there's a few ingredients that you must have. Fresh beans being one of them. People buy coffee that's like pre-ground and it sits in a bag and it's old. No way you're getting good coffee out of that. So you gotta start with fresh beans, Café Collion, or otherwise, just freshly roasted beans.
Well, just to start it for a second, Café Collion happens to be your coffee.
This does happen to be my coffee.
Where did you source it? When did you create it? What's up with packaging? I want to hear everything.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, it was just kind of like a little for fun side hustle thing, and it's just slowly growing. So these beans are Ethiopian and Colombian. I roast them here in Mar Vista, like in California. This one's called The First Draft, paying honor to my film background, right? So this is the first copy we've made, first draft of a script. So it's called The First Draft. We have a cool little film slate for the graphic design, and then my little truck on the front. So it's just very like a personal, my famous truck on the front. So it's,
well, if you're not following him, then you should, and you'll understand everything with what's going on with that truck.
You will see, you will see.
Okay, so freshly ground coffee beans, and then?
We'll start there. So first you have to smell the coffee beans. Does smell pretty good, huh?
Smells pretty good. Yep. Yeah, I'm not a coffee expert, but
well, how much of a coffee expert are you, indeed?
I'll tell you when I try yours.
All right, great, perfect, fair enough. So I guess like there's
I see something that I kind of appreciate here. It's called a scale.
It is a scale.
Electronic scale that no American owned whatsoever.
Well, I obviously have to have two of them.
Okay, psycho.
So there's utensils and things that you need to make a good cup of coffee. I am a little excessive, right?
No,
but
no, you're not.
Just maybe a little bit. But my thought is this, right? I only have one cup of coffee a day, and it's like a bit of a ritual. You know, it's like it starts my day. I start working with this coffee, and I really enjoy like the process of making it, but enjoy drinking it too, right? So for me, I'm like, I will spend the extra effort to have a really good cup. Because I'm about quality over quantity. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm looking for the perfect cup of coffee. If it takes 6 minutes instead of 2 minutes to make, like I'll spend the time, you know?
Yeah, but
and I like the process.
Okay, for like something reaching perfection, 2 to 6 minutes is okay. It's not like an hour and a half just sitting and meditating to what you're.
No, it's not. But it is a lot of reading online and a lot of trial and error. So it does, you know, you're paying for the experience as well.
Perfect. So I want to hear and I want to make the perfect coffee according to you.
Great. I think I'll just kind of break down the basics. Like I think for anybody to make a good cup of coffee at home, you do need fresh beans. You have to grind them fresh. But if you grind them fresh and you make it in a drip or you make it in a French press, however you want to make it, we're going to make espresso. But however you make it at home, if you grind fresh beans, that's like you'll instantly take your coffee game up to another level. People get pre-ground and it's old and it's stale and they're drinking just old, gross coffee that's never good. But if you grind it fresh, then it's like you can really start tasting it. So like if you're trying to have better coffee, just grind your beans, make it however you make it. That's great.
It's actually harder than making a good tea. Like I draw the parallel with drinking tea, where it's actually 90% of the time the teas are disgusting, but they're not tea.
Yeah. Yeah, well also with tea, I'm like, you gotta do like loose leaf fresh tea. The bags, So, but anyways, I will run you through, because you can start with just grinding beans and you can go as far as about to what we're gonna do.
Here, what's the difference between these two?
Nothing really, they're just two different, I mean, I had a grinder for each machine, so I just have them out now. Right now, there's just different beans in there, but these are the fresh ones. This one I haven't been using so much, so this is just, but I mean, they're basically the same thing. They're just a grinder.
You weight them after you grind them or before you grind them?
You're about to see, right? So, purge a little water just to get it all nice and clean in there.
Like a barista.
That is exactly what I am every morning. So basically the reason why we weigh the coffee is like, it's like you have a brew recipe. So like, you know, if you're baking a cake, you don't just throw the flour in and like guess like, oh, about this much. I mean, maybe some people do if you're really, really good. Yeah, you follow a recipe and you try to make the best cake that you can. Now this is a very simple recipe. It's coffee in, coffee out, but you still need to weigh it to know where you're at, right?
Okay.
So we've been doing 18 grams of coffee in and then 36 grams out. A 2-to-1 is like a good ratio for espresso.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can grab the handle there. This is called the portafilter. You're gonna put it right under the chute. And then it's already kind of pre-set, so you just push this little button right here.
Here.
Yeah, I would hold on to that so it doesn't fly everywhere. Yeah, just push it once. Yeah, and now it's just gonna grind out the coffee. It's hard work.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You can kind of move it around so it spreads around a little bit. Yeah, so now put it on the scale. Oh, break things.
Delicacy when
no,
you
you're
hear
fine.
it. Okay.
So 18.1, so we need a little bit more. So, I mean, I'll do this part because it's a little bit of touch sensitive. So you just kind of grind a little bit more. So we're looking, what did I say, 18 or did I say 19? I've kind of been changing it.
Yeah, because now you're at 19.9.
19.9, so it's too much. So we're gonna go to 19, right there. 19.1, that's fine. So now our coffee is there, right? But you'll notice,
Smell it.
you can smell it. It's all like clumpy. Like you see all these big clumps
So you
and
have
stuff.
this like magic machine.
No, that's a different. We have two machines. We have a bunch of machines actually. We probably have 3 devices. So we're gonna use a declumper. So you take this thing, grab this, and just swirl it around in there, and you're basically just breaking up the clumps. So the reason why we're doing that is like the water is pushed through at like 9 bars of pressure. If there's dense parts of coffee, like a clump, the water's not gonna pass through. It's gonna go through other areas, so it's not gonna extract evenly. Like what you want is a super uniform coffee bed, so when the water's pushed on it, every bit of coffee gets extracted evenly. The way coffee turns bitter or sour is because it's not pulling evenly. So this is a part of like making it even, right? That looks pretty good. There's no big clumps, right?
Nope.
Nice and even, so you slot that back there. We give this a little tap, and now we have this thing which is like a distribution tool. So this just like evens it out, right? Do a couple little spins. So now we have like a nice flat, even coffee. Now this thing is the tamper. We want to compress this to get all the air out. This is a little bit like touch sensitive, so over time you kind of just learn how much pressure there is.
Okay. You're kind of ready to write a thesis on how to make a coffee.
I could. I spent enough time doing it. And then this is a little portafilter screen. Yeah, it just helps evenly extract the coffee too. That's the whole idea, is that you really want to make the coffee, because this is just, what happens is the water just gets pumped here at a really high pressure and it's just going to go through the portafilter. If there's a hole or a channel, the water's just going to spurt through that channel and like just squirt out the other side, and you're not extracting the coffee at all. So it's like, that's how you're going to have bad coffee.
So now how often do you miss your coffee?
In what sense? Like when I go somewhere else?
No, that you actually mess it up.
Oh, no, sorry, do I mess up my coffee?
Yeah.
It definitely happens, but like once, like this coffee is what's called, it's pretty dialed in right now. Like I made a couple coffees this morning. I had a friend over, so I made a coffee for them, and I had coffee as well. So like right now, the freshness, this is a new bag that we just opened, but the freshness of the beans with the grind size and the amount, I've done this before in these conditions. If I get a new bag or if I go away and I come back and the coffee's older, it extracts differently, and like you do it and it like comes shooting out, or like not, it doesn't come out at all. And then you have to like change some things to like make it work. But in theory, this should work, so.
Does it take more time to do your hair or make your coffee?
Hair for sure. Hair takes hours. This is no time at all. So then we also time it. So we had 19 grams, right? So 2 to 1 is going to be
19.1.
Yeah, so 38.2. Yeah, Swiss precision for sure. So we want 38 grams out, which is 2 to, oh, low battery. Hold on, let's use this one. That's why we got 2. So we want 38 or so. So basically, we start this and flip this switch, and this coffee should come out pretty good.
It's really dark. Now, okay, let me ask you something. When people, like wine enthusiasts, take a lot of attention in choosing the right glass, is it the same thing when it comes to coffee, depending on what kind of cup you're drinking the coffee out?
It is. So these are like espresso glasses. So if you were to drink just the espresso straight, these are great glasses to do it in. So we're 37, so almost 38, pretty close, in 35 seconds. So this is within the realm of possibilities, but like, I don't know, you have a little smell of that. That's pretty strong. If you're not an espresso lover, it would be probably pretty intense, but
Should I try it?
I mean, I also was gonna make you a coffee with milk. So we can make a little latte or a cappuccino or something like that for you, which might cut it a little bit for you. Might make it a little more appealing for your first one here. Your first Cafe Coleon coffee. Did you try it?
I kind of did.
Yeah, it's gonna be, that's like, if you have your first drink.
We don't need a jet lag in a split second.
Yeah. So like, if you're like trying alcohol for the first time, you just had a shot of whiskey. That's what that is, right? So normally you don't do that. Normally you mix it with something else. So we can do a little, well, that's fine, but we will, we'll cut it with or just go to town on it.
No.
That's not the right way to drink your first coffee, just to be completely transparent. Because that's strong, right?
No.
So we're gonna just cut it with a little bit of milk, a little bit of oat milk, and then you can have a sip of that and tell me how that tastes. Because I feel like a little bit better than just a straight espresso. Even like, you have to really be into coffee to like drink espresso. I don't normally drink espresso. I drink Americanos.
Wait, you drink espresso in the morning?
Oh no, I drink an Americano.
Oh.
So I'll mix it with hot or cold water if I'm doing an iced or a regular Americano.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Oh, frothing milk?
Latte of the, oh yeah.
It's
It has this ASMR touch.
It does.
Makes it really cool.
It does. Though I'm not very good at it. I want to get better at making latte art, but I'm not quite there yet.
But you know, the arancino machine from Nespresso is actually pretty good.
Oh, really?
Very convenient.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do you know?
FYI.
Copy that. I will bear that in mind. All right. So now we're just gonna pour this. We're gonna make a little cappuccino.
Are you gonna make it a little heart on my coffee with the latte?
No, I'm not gonna commit to anything.
Are you a barista or not?
No, in that regard, no, I am not. I will try, but it's gonna be embarrassing. I'll tell you that right now.
And round up with that, you know.
And then a little.
Yay!
Oh, there is a heart. We did a heart.
That worked out.
Look at that. And we'll do this properly with a proper coaster.
Do you have a little Madeleine or Financier on the side?
I don't even know what that is.
Come on.
A what?
You speak French. A Financier or Madeleine.
what
The
that
little
is.
cookie French thing that you put on the side to potentially like dip in your...
No, I have most piece of chocolate, but
No. That's too American.
No,
French way.
I don't, unfortunately. So just
Okay.
just that.
Let's drink my heart. To you?
A little better than straight espresso.
You know that's my first coffee ever.
That's,
Like I've never had a coffee in my life.
you've never had a coffee in your life?
Nope. That happens.
I am astonished, really. A, that you've gone that long, and B, that you've chugged espresso as your first taste of coffee. That's
well,
a
I kind of
bold
had
move.
to pretend that I was really into coffee in
Oh,
order
okay.
to make you teach me the best
fooled
coffee
me.
ever.
You fooled me. So
So-
how does it compare a cappuccino to?
Well, it's much more drinkable with oatmeal than,
Yeah.
than just regular.
I would say so, yeah.
So, ooh, that's strong. Still,
Yeah.
what's your take on adding like sugar, honey?
It's fine. So the thing.
Like, because purists, like they would never add anything to the coffee.
Yeah, I'm not a purist. I like good stuff, but
Not
it's
a
like
purist? Really?
no. I like high quality, well-made things, as I think we might discuss. But so I think the problem with sugar in coffee is like people will drink like a black coffee, like an Americano, and they'll put a bunch of sugar in and they'll put a bunch of milk in because the coffee's made
not
poorly. If you make a proper espresso and a proper like Americano or whatever, it should have a really balanced flavor that is not too bitter or not too sour. And
So that is true.
yeah, there's
It's not
almost
bitter.
a little
It's
bit
true.
of sweetness that comes through. And so if you have a coffee that's made well, you don't need sugar. You don't need milk. But it makes it a much more palatable having cutting the coffee with
I thought it was
milk.
going to be much like more bitter for, again, I've smelled coffee, I've cooked with coffee,
Yeah.
but I've not actually had a coffee. It's way smoother than I thought it was.
That's good.
But if I'm awake at 3 a.m, I'm going to be calling you.
Well, you can text me. I might not answer, but you can text me and you can yell at me.
What about the notion of time on its own? Like, how do you deal with time considering all the things that you have on your plate?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, as I've gotten older, I've realized that like time really is the most precious commodity. It's like everybody makes different money, everybody does different things with their time, but we all have the same amount.